Welcome, welcome. This is Sentir para Sanar, Feeling to Heal with Patricia Carles, which is myself. Thank you so much for being here today. I have an amazing guest. We're going to talk about PMAs today. We're going to talk about Private Membership Association. If some of you don't know or you're not familiar with this, what this means, so today you're going to have the chance to know from the expert what a PMA is. So let me introduce. This is with us is Chief AB. Let me put him on camera. Thank
Greetings,
you, Chief. He's from the Navajo region. From what's the name of the tribe, Chief?
Aborigine Catawba Nation.
Catawba Nation.
Yes.
Would you mind, Chief, if you can, tell the audience what did you do and a little bit of you before we start talking about PMA?
Most definitely. So, greetings, definitely first and foremost. Thank you for having me on. I am Chief AB. You can just call me AB. But a little bit, about what I do. Mainly a healer. I definitely share and resonate. It's where we have common interests. And it's kind of what pointed me in the direction of private membership association to start. Now I assist people in establishing PMAs as well as in the healing space, but mainly starting and pretty much again what we established and met is setting up the family PMA and pretty much building and branching out from there. But that's pretty much a little bit about what I do.
Awesome, awesome. And I have to say that Chief, it's a genius. He knows like, oh my God. He's been teaching me in all these matters about PMA and trust and many other things that I really would like to share this information with you today that we're watching this. So let's start for defining, for giving what's the concept, what is a PMA?
So again, as you stated, private membership association is something that we already do. We already associate. One of the things that we go over normally in our initial one-on-ones is like the definition of the word association itself. And then once you define the word association itself, which is again men or women coming together for a common purpose, then you put the word private on there. So then you have men and women meeting privately for a certain purpose. So it just gives privacy to whatever it is that you're doing. Again, we like to start with the family and reestablishing privacy in the family by grassrooting and establishing the family as a private membership association itself, full of family members. And then kind of growing into private corporations and doing business in the private sector. From there, we're all familiar with business. We're all familiar with doing business. But because we only know one form and one way of doing business, essentially, as soon as we start doing business, the first thing we do is jump into public entities, public corporations, and I help and show people how to establish business in a different way, which is privately under the Private Membership Association.
So mainly it is the difference is that a public corporation is in the public domain and a private membership is in a private domain.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the benefits and I mean the pros and cons of being in the private domain in this way?
I would say I would start with a con. So it is unlearning and relearning. It's not easy. It's not something that people are just going to jump into because this information is something that as you've learned yourself, it's not mainstream. It's not in the public. You don't already know how to administrate and handle your own affairs in a way. So getting into private membership associations and establishing again, uh, it involves learning trust law. It involves learning equity. It does call for you to have to be a student and really uh, dedicate yourself to the information. So it's not something like again like a LLC or S corp, where again these are public entities, so they've already been established. They already have certain rules and regulations that govern them, that we didn't have to take the time to establish. There are certain systems that are in place for those businesses. So essentially, it's a lot easier to utilize public vessels for doing business. But again, then the pros is once we learn how to govern ourselves and we set up the PMAs and we put the private trust and we learn trust law and equity, we can start to preserve our equity. We can start to capitalize off some of the business that we're already doing publicly, and as well as we can maintain privacy in some of our affairs. And then, of course, the tax incentive and things of that sort. But it's gonna just boil down to what is it that you try to do? Something we talk about a lot. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Do you understand what that goal is? And then what are you going to use this vehicle to do with what the game plan is? But again, like I said, this at the top, with the trust in place as well, is a very strong structure for starting business. We're all in business, whether we're an entrepreneur or whether you work a 9 to 5 and just pay bills. Whether you realize it or not, you conduct business every day. So this protects, again, a lot of the business that we're doing. Again, it does take you to be a student. It does take a lot of studying. It does take unlearning a lot of the things that we've been told and relearning something new. But once you've done it, I think for most people, you'll be pleased with the benefits.
Thank you, Chief. And that's been mostly my path of the last 12 months, at least. I've been unlearning and learning how to manage a PMA and how do you say that interesting phrase? You say we learn to govern ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Mm-hmm.
it's like being autonomous in the way you decide to not only to live but to manage your business.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case that, for instance, people that is in the holistic healing,
Mm-hmm.
people that is in situations that they can bring like health and happiness in a certain way to other people, but most of the times in terms of the legal statements, you cannot do that because you need license, because you need permits, because you need all kind of things that are ruled by the state.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a PMA like a right? It's a constitutional, it's lawful to
Mm-hmm.
get together and have these kind of organizations, and people can really be protected if they
Mm-hmm.
are under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like you said, that's a strong benefit, and it's one of the first things that drove me to PMAs. Being a healer myself, the more I looked into it, I found out that it's really popular in the medical field, even with some traditional medicine. Like doctors themselves practice publicly. Practice medicine as well as have private associations where they do alternative work. Some of the work that you and myself do, and can offer some of these services to their members, whereas they couldn't offer those same services in the public just because of the rules and the regulations and the things that are in place. The insurance wouldn't cover those things, et cetera, et cetera. So they practice on one side where they can take insurance and can do the pharmaceuticals, and then you have the other side where you can do all the beautiful things that we want to do without being labeled as practicing without a license. It then takes you to a place where you are administering help and assisting your members. Everybody is associating and agreeing that they're coming together for a common purpose. Your camera just cleared up excellently, by the way, too. I don't know what happened, but your
Good.
camera looks like 30 times better than it did. I don't know what just happened. It looks really good. But again, now you can
Maybe the
associate.
Wi-Fi.
It looks good. Let's say it popped back in, so we good to go. But you can associate again. You have that layer of protection. You learn how to do it in a way that doesn't ruffle any feathers in the public. because you're not using certain words or you're not saying that you're offering certain services that are governed by public statutes and codes. That's pretty much where they come in, and that's the big issue, is that some of those services that are being offered, has been said that a license is necessary to offer that service. So you just need to change the vehicle that you're doing business in, and then the words that you're using for what it is that you're doing. And again, we're just associating and offering assistance to our members. It's pretty much all you're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Men and women are allowed to do that. Something I want to discuss is I've been tracing my genealogy like heavily. And something that I realized in, just going back through old family records is we make a lot of it's like mysticism. This is very mysterious, like type thing around privacy and private membership and, families operating in a private capacity. But it wasn't but like just 100, barely over 100 years ago that was the family dynamic. Like you weren't 100%, governed by like 100% all your information out there, all the business that you're doing being public, all your information all online. People can just put a number in and find you where you live. Like that wasn't a thing. Like the only thing that existed was like a census, and that came like late 17 going into early 1800s. But the families kept their own records, which is what we do as private Americans, private people now. We keep our own records, family Bibles, genealogy records, the whole nine. This is how people identify themselves. Now we identify by all of the things that we've been given by public corporations, like licenses, like birth certificates, like social security numbers. Like none of those things are actually you, and none of those things are actually your identity, but we identify as those things now, which are governed by public corporations. What we're doing and what we're discussing is just kind of going back to what's already really natural, and that's just privacy. Like it's not natural for us to have so much of our information public, as well as to identify as public corporations. It is natural to do business. It's okay to do business in the public, but we spend our entire life in the public 100%. Like I tell people, whether you realize it or not, whether you think that you're involved, whether you think this matters or not, if you have any of those things that I mentioned, if you are driving, if you have birth certificates, if you are doing any of those things, you are conducting business regularly. And you are regularly giving out your account information, and you are regularly doing business. So it's just a matter of learning how to do business in a way where you can secure and protect some of what you're already doing.
That's amazing. Chief, if it's such a great thing, the PMAs, why there are not more PMAs? Why people is so a part of this information?
I would say the information wasn't mainstream. It's starting to become more. I mean, the fact that we're talking about it now, the more you learn about it and the more you research, you'll find out there's more PMAs and more private associations operating around you than you know. Sometimes it's just a matter of what you can see. What our eyes tell us and what we perceive is a matter of what we can acknowledge and what we understand. So often we're looking at PMAs. Often we're part of or a member of an organization that's part of an association that's part of a PMA. Once you start,
mentioned some of the PMAs that people might not imagine that there are PMAs, but that they are actually.
Well, as you know, we go over incorporated and unincorporated association, right? So just an association that's private and for members only, homeowners association, something we've talked about before. And you look at just how homeowners association govern themselves. They govern the community. They put presidents and
And they are the law.
And that's the law. Exactly. Whatever happens in there, it has its own governing body. And something that's even cooler is I had the opportunity to sit down with a president of one of those organizations. And as we traveled around the community, I realized like they have their own police, in an HOA. It's a private community, and they have their own private security. And when the sheriff comes into that community, he assists that private security team. You see what I'm saying? So it's like these things are operating around us slightly. As I was telling you about earlier, the DMV and the associations that they're a part of, we either members of an organization as part of a private association, or we're directly a part of that association, and sometimes don't even realize it. Because as I sat down with that president of that HOA, he told me he didn't know anything about PMAs and he didn't understand anything about what I was saying. And then as I broke down to him that he was the president of one, he he started to realize like it's an incorporated version of what I'm talking about as far as being unincorporated, but the structure is pretty much almost the same. Again, we've learned to associate. A lot of us are familiar with nonprofits and things of that sort. The structure is very similar, but again, as you learn, it's just not under it's not under any public bylaws, statutes, and codes, and it's governed by the men and women themselves and the constitution and the bylaws of that organization. But there's a lot of them. I mean, so like the list could go on. Some would shock you. Some are right in your face.
Mm-hmm. If someone, for instance, have a property in a HOA already, but
Mhm.
they didn't know, but they have another PMA. Can they build up or create their own PMA in that place, or it have to be approved by the HOA PMA
They
from there?
can, but that's a sticky situation. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like I said, because you are within and already under membership, um, it's some work. Like I said, privacy is meant to be, I want to say, so disruptive in a way. And again, that's an uphill battle. Can be done, but I would say that person definitely should consider. Uh, I want to say the home itself. Again, the home itself can be put in trust, things of that sort. But the fight and the battle with that HOA is gonna be fun. I would definitely say that. Well, I say, but because they're under membership, like I said, whether they realize it or not, a lot of people are already participating in some of these things. That one again being incorporated, not so much unincorporated, but that is a private association.
Okay. So another question, if someone wants to have a PMA,
Mhm.
what they need to do? If for instance they are in the public domain, they have an LLC or a corporation, what would you recommend? Would you recommend to like they can just open a PMA and
Mhm.
leave this one open, or totally jump from one side to the other? What would you recommend in this
Well,
case?
this is how like they explain PMAs, LLCs, and all these other different vehicles. You probably heard this analogy as well. You have a tool bag full of tools. And depending on what it is that you are trying to do, you pull out that tool to execute the job. So if I was going to saw something, I would not pull out a hammer. If I was going to drill something, I would not pull out a saw. It's pretty much how that works. So, like I tell you all the time, it comes down to what is it that you're trying to accomplish. Now, again, my biggest thing is always set up the family first. Establish your name. You're already doing business in your name. So correct that first. Give yourself a private vehicle in your name that you can do business in, as well as you can do business public, because both are necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It is advantageous to go into public and do business sometime. Um, so you're going to want public vehicles. How you structure those vehicles is very important. And again, as you know, you can give ownership to a lot of those vehicles to your trust, to private corporations, the same way that an LLC can own an LLC, a private corporation can own an LLC, trust can own and lease to the private corporations, to the public corporations, the whole nine. It becomes a big old structure game. Like I said, you know it. And it all boils down to what is it that you're trying to accomplish. I would say consult, either with myself or somebody who understands, private corporations and trust law. Then become a student of private corporations and trust law. Have a reason for why you're doing it, and I feel like once you have a reason for why you're doing it, it makes it a lot easier to do these things. If you're doing it just because and it has no meaning to you at all, um, it's probably not going to work. But if you understand that you are already doing business, it's one of the things I try to showcase to people, and you're already doing business in your name. So do that the best way possible. Give yourself a little bit more privacy. Give yourself an administrator, which is your private corporation in your name, to come and defend your public corporations that are in your name if necessary. There's a big movement going on now with equity and the understanding of equity. And one of the first things I tell people is, you're doing business in a public vehicle, and then now everybody's trying to talk private. So if you're going to speak privately, do it from a private platform, do it from a private vehicle. That private vehicle being a private membership association. Now that association can come in and represent any of its assets, any of its members, the whole nine, and your public business is members, can be members of your private membership association. And I yield.
Wow, that's a lots of information and many things to learn for those who feel the calling to get it into the private domain to handle their own business. And I think this is amazing when you can really go for your goals
Mm-hmm.
and be clear and be aware that there is a law that is actually supporting this. That is not that you're going against the law
Mm-hmm.
by doing this, but you're also putting your rights in front of you, saying, the amendments of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a very important information that people should know.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you have their own business, or they maybe, as you say, they're doing business on their own name, with the practice they do. So you told me you're going to give a master class
Mm-hmm.
soon, right?
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
to teach people basically all details about PMA, because it's very important to learn about trust, about PMA, about these things that are related
Mm-hmm.
with PMAs that is so important to understand. So when this master class is going to be?
So May 1st, we are getting the details together, but for sure May 1st, time will be attached to link.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody's interested, if anybody wants to come to the master class, we will be going over trust law. We'll be going over PMAs more in depth. We'll be going over equity. Like I tell people all the time, these vehicles are amazing. These vehicles are everything that I feel like we need. But if you don't know how to operate them, they're useless. Having a document without the understanding of how to enforce the document, it doesn't benefit you at all. So this class is to again dive deeper, for people to ask questions, for people to be able to take notes. It will be recorded. It will be something that people can study after the fact, and it'll be a more in-depth introduction to what it is that we're discussing, and an opportunity for people to decide whether they want to, go further in learning and understanding how to administrate behind private membership associations, and how to take care of their own trust. I mean, like I said, trust is something that we talk about a lot, but they can be expensive. All of this can be expensive. But last analogy before we close, I tell people like this: how much did your furniture in your home cost? It's a question that I ask people, and it's usually a lot of money. And then I look at people and I tell people that furniture in your home is made from wood. Most of the appliances in our homes are free. The materials are free. It doesn't cost anything to actually make it, but we pay a whole lot of money because we don't take the time to learn how to do it. The same thing can apply to trust law and private corporations. It's something that you hear the word trust, you hear trust fund, you hear private corporation, and you think like, I got to be really, really rich. And it's not for me, and it's not something that I need to know, and it's kind of and it's going to cost me a whole lot of money. And really, it's not as expensive. It's not as hard to manage as people think, from a cost perspective, once you just learn how to do the work yourself. So again, that's what we're here to do. So we're here to assist in, give people the tools to be able to produce and protect their own families as well as their assets.
Awesome. Awesome. I have a question here from the audience. It said they ask if a PMA can be the holding to several LLCs
It can.
under that umbrella.
And what I tell people, what I tell people is use it as an administrator, and allow the trust to hold, like use your trust as a vote, so to speak, and use your private membership association as a private administrator on behalf of the trust. Um, do most of your organizing within the association and hold most of your assets in the trust, if that helps answer your question. The trust can also lease its assets to the private association as well as to the LLCs. Like I said, it just kind of depends on what type of business that you're running, how you want to set that structure up. I have some companies where the PMA is the direct owner on paper with the Secretary of State of the LLC. I'm gonna have some that say that the trust is. It all kind of just boils down to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, where it is, and I'm opening up that LLC. What type of LLC is it? Et cetera, et cetera.
And also, before we close, Chief, what type of PMAs can we have?
So we have the family PMA, and then we have the business. It's pretty much
Mhm.
the dynamic of everything. You have the family private membership association, then you have the business one. So whether you want to, again, I say all the time, I think that the family PMA heals families. It heals relationships. It allows people to come together and meet regularly. It's something that they did for my family. As I've shared with you, we meet more. We discuss each other's interests, and we have departments for the interests of each family member, where our LLCs and our single businesses basically become members of those departments of our family PMA. And we're all focused on the family vision. It's a bigger vision now than just a solo vision. We were all blessed to have family, but I don't feel like we utilize each other enough. We more so use each other, but we don't utilize each other enough. And I feel like, again, starting there, I know I preach it, I say family, family all the time, but to me, that's a good start. Even if you don't have a family, a large family, again, just structuring your name and protecting your name itself, and putting it under a private corporation is a good start. And then once you want to do business, like I said, once you understand what you're doing with your business and why you want it to be private, like yourself, and what you're doing on your land, privately, and helping bring peace and love and light, to the world. We don't want you to be disturbed, because somebody doesn't like the word that you use. You want protection. Again, you want privacy, and everybody's owed it. You asked me a question a while ago, like who should do it, and I told you like everybody. You like who can do it, and I'm like everybody. You're a woman, you're a man or a woman, right? Like everybody has a right to privacy. So depending on what you're trying to do, is which type of structure you'll go with. Both very similar, but how you administrate them is different. It's pretty much what it boils down to. So family and business PMA.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chief, for this great information.
Yeah.
I know you have to go. I know you have a meeting,
Yes, ma'am.
and we'll keep in touch. And also, I want to mention now to talk to people about Scalar Light, because I don't know if I mentioned you Scalar Light before, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the Tom Paladino. He's a researcher that is in Florida, and he works with Tesla Energy. I'm going to show this. I'm going to take you out a little for a minute to show this. I'll be right back. So this is a Tesla when he discovered that he can get power from this energy that is called scalar energy. And I want you to invite you to participate for free in this amazing research that I have been done upon Tom Paladino. I'm gonna leave the link in whichever app you're watching this podcast right now, either YouTube, LinkedIn, or BitChute, whichever of the apps. I'm gonna leave the link down so you can click there and get into scalarlight.com, because once you can access to that, and you send a picture, this picture is going to be printed in the lab. Like, for instance, you send a picture like this, and it will be in the lab with another photograph of, for instance, this is the herpes virus. So what this scalar energy does is that it's like a scanner. If this intelligent energy scan the virus in your image, which is a bilocated representation of you, it will destroy the molecular bones. And this happening in a quantum way. This is quantum healing. So if you want to try out this quantum healing, I invite you to get into scalarlight.com and take the free trial, so you can get 15 days of this quantum energy that is amazing, and it's also good for balancing chakras, wave brain, and it's amazing. So I'm going back here with Chief to say bye, to say thank you. Anything else that you might like to add before we go?
May 1st, if you are interested, in the chat, whatever platform you're on, type PMA in the
Yes,
chat, and we'll be sure to get you the link to be able to get more information on the in-depth masterclass, trust law, and PMA. Thank you for having me. Look forward to
sure.
speaking to you soon. I know we'll be talking soon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I am off to my next meeting. It was a pleasure to be here, family.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So text down PMA if you want to get more information, if you want to get all details about this master class, where you're going to be able to understand much, much better in the private domain,
Mhm.
with Chief AB, everything about PMAs and trust. So I'm so happy to share this information to the world. Thank you.
I appreciate you for sharing. Peace and love, family.
Peace and love, Chief. And peace and love for you too. Remember, give us a like, a check, subscription, share this video, because this is the information that we are sharing with love. And I'm so thankful because you're being here with us today. And see you next time. Bye bye. Peace and love.